welcome to the news on NTA International. I am Daniels. First, headlines. President Tinubu hosts 66th ordinary session of authorities of heads of state and government of ECOWAS. Mediation mission to Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso top on agenda. California extends partnership to building capacity and bolster economic growth in Nigeria. Plus, junta in Guinea extends transition to democratic rule. The 66th Ordinary Summit of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government has just ended in Abuja with some far-reaching decisions, particularly on the three countries of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger that have decided to opt out of the bloc. Let's join our State House correspondent, Musbo, then we have for an update. Over to you, Musbo.
All right, the 66th ordinary session of the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of States and Governments has just ended in Abuja with some decisions taken already, particularly on the three countries opting out of ECOWAS, which ECOWAS has just noticed, taking notification of their decision and now setting some deadlines. Let's quickly talk to Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Tuga, on this development. Thank you so much, Your Excellency.
Good to be here.
We've just listened to the communique, some outcome coming from this summit. What specifically are those decisions just taken by the ECOWAS?
Well, there are several decisions that were taken at the highest level, because this is the highest level of the ECOWAS structure. This is the authority of the heads of state and government. The summit has just been concluded. There are decisions around support for Gambia and the ECOWAS court to set up a tribunal that will look into human rights abuse, for instance, that had happened in the past. There are decisions to do with the logistics base in Lungi in Sierra Leone. There are decisions to do with a review of ongoing transitions. For instance, the one in Guinea has been commended. There's progress being made, and for more support for it. And of course, the elephant in the room, unfortunately, people like to reduce ECOWAS to only the subject of the AES states, but it's much, much bigger than that. So let me tell you about the AES states. The decision there is, of course, the deadline for their exit, because they indicated their interest to exit. It takes 1 year, so the 1 year expires at the end of next month, January of 2025. But that notwithstanding, ECOWAS has said, according to its rules, there is a 6-month period, transition period, because it's like a marriage. If you want to depart, you have to move your things out of a house, who owns what, and there are certain agencies under ECOWAS that are domiciled in those countries. So all of that has to be sorted out. During that 6-month period, the authority of heads of state has directed that ECOWAS redouble its efforts to ensure that these three countries don't leave. And the door still remains during the 6-month period for them to remain. But that notwithstanding, the authority has directed the chairman of the ECOWAS Commission, as well as the Ministerial Council of ECOWAS, which I chair, to begin to prepare for the possible exit. So to work towards the transition. So that's essentially what has transpired.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Yusuf Tuga, for your perspectives. So that is the major decision for now on the three countries opting out of ECOWAS. And ECOWAS, just so you know, or to reiterate, that the period is still there for the mediating team to continue this process to ensure that the three countries remains. It's back to you for now.
Thank you for those updates, Musbao. And as the Sister State Summit of ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State gets underway in Abuja, the West African Democracy Solidarity Network is seeking a regional authority to address political instability due to unconstitutional change of government and tenure elongation. WEDMOS, an independent civil society-led Transitional Democracy Solidarity Network, is disturbed by the growing trends of constitutional amendment by elected leaders in the region for tenure elongation, describing it as constitutional coup. It is therefore advocating an ECOWAS of the people regarding tenure in office by adopting the provision limiting the mandates of heads of state and government to consolidate further the principles of constitutional convergence and democracy in West Africa. It noted that 35 amendments have been undertaken in 24 African countries, much of them aimed at adjusting term limits for the political leaders.
We commend the ECOWAS Authority of Heads of State and Government for the commencement of regular consultative interactions between the AUPs and Security Council and corresponding organs of the ECOWAS to enhance consistency in the application of the provisions of the protocol and the African Charter on Democracy, Elections and Governance.
To safeguard against illegal term elongation, ECOWAS must reform and reinforce its commitment to democratic norms by instituting its protocol to meet current challenges. There are true unique challenges: insecurity, extremism, all of them, even economic debacle that we are facing in the region, and advocating for a robust constitutional framework that prohibits any retroactive application of changes made by the sitting leader.
WEDMOS is convinced that ECOWAS' firm decision on tenure could also address the political instability in the Sahel and win back the breakaway countries of Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. Chairman, Nigerian Diaspora Commission, NIDCAM, Abike Dabiri-Arewa, says more investment should be targeted at capacity building to grow and bolster the Nigerian economy and promote brain circulation. NIDCAM chairman stated this at a strategic meeting with the Secretary, California State Transportation Agency, CalStar, Dr. Toks Omshaking in Abuja. Deborah Balabobo reports.
With Africa, the latest edition of the CalSTARS project, Secretary, California State Transport Agency, Dr. Toks Omeshaki, says the visit is to show commitment on investing in sectors such as technology, energy, and green jobs.
And so we want to explore partnership opportunities where businesses in America will come to Nigeria and invest more, and also vice versa. Opportunities for Nigerian businesses to come to the United States and possibly invest.
So one of the ideas as we explore this partnership is masters or graduate students from Nigerian universities should be able to come, spend some time as exchange programs in the University of California system or other universities in the state of California, and then take advantage of our industry partnerships, spend some time there, get that training, but then come back here and then help build the ecosystem in Nigeria.
I'll see if that can happen, before the end of the day.
NIDCAM boss highlights the need for training programs to equip Nigerians with technical know-how necessary to improve efficiency and productivity in the transportation sector, which she adds is a step into aligning with President Tinubu's vision of growing the country into a $1 trillion economy.
So we look forward to this partnership, and through you, as a very successful Nigerian in the diaspora, there's so much connectivity that we're going to have with California through your office, and we look forward to a trade delegation also coming to California so that it can be a win-win for both countries.
The California State Transportation Agency is a state cabinet-level agency that develops and coordinates transportation policies and programs for California to ensure safe, sustainable, convenient, and affordable transportation for its citizens. In Abuja, Deborah Balabubo, NTA News.
The United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime, in partnership with the government of Germany, has handed over to the National Park Service some ICT equipment to enhance administrative efficiency and boost the capacity of park rangers in the conservation of wildlife and forest resources in Nigeria. UNODC representative Sheikh Torre presented the equipment on behalf of the donors in Abuja. He said the items were provided for the implementation of the corruption risk mitigation strategies jointly designed by the National Park Service and UNODC to eliminate opportunities and risks of corruption in parks administration and operational system. Conservator General of Park Service Ibrahim Goni believes the ICT equipment will enhance monitoring of endangered species and close existing gaps in the park's operations.
So the equipment they presented ranged from binoculars, server trackers, smarts, GPS, to laptops, desktops, and even handheld lenses, which you can use at least to view specimens. So this equipment will actually go a long way in improving our tracking for the movement of wildlife within and outside the protected areas, particularly the camera traps. The camera traps will help a lot, because through the camera traps, species you would think are either migrated, threatened, or endangered, you'll be surprised through the camera trap you'll be able to see them resurface.
Since July 2020, UNODC, through its global program for crimes for the environment and in partnership with the U.S. government and Germany, has been implementing technical and normative interventions to support the efforts of government of Nigeria in combating wildlife, forests, and general crimes. The United Kingdom is seeking to take advantage of the long-standing relationship between the UK and Nigeria to invest in key sectors in the Ebonyi state, geared towards amplifying the developmental initiatives of the state. The British Deputy High Commissioner to Nigeria, Gil Lever, stated this when she interfaced with the governor in Abakaliki during a one-day working visit to the state. Caleb Obenna reports.
The British Deputy High Commissioner to Nigeria, Gil Lever, who is in Ebonyi State to explore avenues through which the British government could amplify what she referred to as life-transforming policies and projects of Governor Francis Nwifuru.
And we have substantial interests in your wonderful country. Governor, we are impressed with the work that you're doing on your People's Charter, and you've made strides in health, infrastructure, in agriculture, and indeed in women's empowerment, emancipation.
Having expressed commitment to collaborate with the state to drive his laudable initiatives, the governor outlined some of his achievements and sectors where the partnership is much needed, such as education, power, economy, among others.
We have taken steps in improving our healthcare facilities by providing equitable, accessible, and affordable healthcare services to our people. However, we will be glad if you offer us assistance to strengthen our healthcare facilities. Our efforts to industrialize the state, we have established 4 functional industries that requires substantial energy to thrive. This informs our decisions to proceed of establishing a 330 kVA power station, which is estimated to take over 50 billion naira. We are also optimistic that if we establish this bilateral relationship, it will advance our shared interest in security.
with Governor Francis Mwifu pledging to continue to frame his policies and projects in line with the Sustainable Development Goals template. The British government and Ebonyi State partnership will in no small measure accelerate development. In Abakaliki, Kelebo Bonna, NTA News.
This is the news on NTA International. We have more reports after the break. To stay with us.
Find amazing treats for everyone this holiday with Showmax. Celebrate like a champion with soccer.
Very well taken.
Find your festive inspo with our masters of style.
That's what I'm here for.
Embark on a fun-filled global adventure.
Here we go.
Share your love moments with family and friends.
My son, the most handsome.
And enjoy some truly royal spoils.
I want the power to control what happens in my life.
Only on Showmax, because everyone deserves a holiday treat.
Thanks for joining us again. Opposition groups in Guinea say they are outraged at an announcement by the junta that the transition to democratic rule will extend beyond the end of the year. And Namibia's main opposition party said it plans to file a legal challenge against the results of last month's disputed election. Let's join Colum Mohammed for more.
A spokesperson for the ruling authority in Guinea said conditions have not yet been met for a transitional period to end. In negotiations with the regional bloc ECOWAS, the junta, which seized power in a coup in September 2021, had promised a return to elections and civil rule within 2 years. In July, the junta presented citizens with a draft of a new constitution which imposes a strict two-term limit for the presidency, each for 5 years. It will also potentially allow current military leader Mamadi Doumbouya to participate in the next presidential poll. The promised referendum on the document, expected to pave way for a return to constitutional rule, is yet to take place. In other news, Namibia's ruling Southwest Africa People's Party won both the votes, extending its 34-year grip on power. The opposition believes data would help it to substantiate the allegations ahead of the main court application on 23rd December, challenging the validity of the election. Following Friday's ruling, the court ordered the Electoral Commission to provide the parties with the information by next week. This includes documentation of the number of votes cast and counted at each polling station. The election was marred by a shortage of ballot papers and technical challenges, which resulted in polling stations staying open for up to 3 days in some areas. Colum Muhammad, NTA News.
And political crisis mounts in Georgia. Lawmakers have voted in a far-right former soccer star, Mikhail Kavelashvili, as the country's next president. The former president's decision to hold European Union accession talks led to deepening tensions between the pro-Russian government and pro-Western opposition. Kavelashvili is a member of the ruling Georgian Dream Party and played for the English soccer team Manchester City during the 1990s. For the first time, the president was chosen not by a national election, but in parliament by a direct ballot of a 300-member electoral college made up of MPs and representatives of local government, as the four main opposition groups boycotted parliament since October disputed election. And schools reopened in Syria on Sunday following the order of the country's new leader. Colum Mohammed reports that this is coming a week after President Bashar al-Assad was overthrown.
The country's new de facto leader, Ahmed al-Shara, faces a massive challenge to rebuild Syria after 13 years of civil war that killed hundreds of thousands of people. Cities were bombed to ruins, the economy was gutted by international sanctions, and millions of refugees still live in camps outside Syria. Officials say most schools opened across the country on Sunday, which is the first day of working week in most Arab countries. Some parents, however, did not allow their children to resume school, as they were not certain the situation was safe after 13 years of unrest, killings, bombardments, and militia sects. Pupils waited cheerfully in the court of a boys' high school in Damascus on Sunday morning and applauded the school secretary, Raid Nasser, who hung the flag adopted by the new national authorities. As Syria starts trying to rebuild, its neighbors and other foreign powers are still working out a new stance on the country, a week after the collapse of the Assad government that was backed by Iran and Russia.
That this is the responsibility of the Syrian people, but it also needs the support of the international community. And why does it need the support of the international community? Hopefully to be able to help in the transitional phase, but also to help with humanitarian assistance.
UN envoy to Syria said he hopes for a swift end to the international sanctions to help facilitate economic recovery. Kolo Muhammad, NTA News.
Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, says the 10th House of Representatives under his leadership is committed to addressing Nigeria's present challenges through people-centered legislations that will impact the lives of Nigerians. He stated this at a capacity training for the House of Representatives Press Corps held in Kaduna. National Assembly correspondent Mitaire Ikmen reports.
The capacity building training is to familiarize members of the House of Representatives Press Corps with the 8 thematic areas of the legislative agenda of the 10th House to guide their reportage of parliamentary activities. Speaker Abbas emphasized that the House of Representatives is focused on driving economic growth, enhancing national security, improving access to healthcare, reforming education, and advancing good governance.
The 10th House legislative agenda is a comprehensive and ambitious blueprint designed to address the critical challenges facing our nation. Our task is to promote transparency, accountability, and a shared vision for a more prosperous Nigeria.
On behalf of the House of Reps Press Corps, I assure you that we will continue to uphold the highest standards of professionalism and ethics, and always prioritizing the national interests.
The Speaker proceeded to inspect constituency projects he initiated in Zaria Federal Constituency. They include ongoing renovation of 116 primary and secondary schools, construction of Kofa Doka roundabout and flyover, as well as construction of the bridge in Aba village.
I asked the contractor when I visited the place, he said between 6 months to 1 year, the project will be completed. The good thing that you need to know is that we have provided the money completely, what the contractor needs to utilize. So he doesn't have to wait for another budget cycle for him to access money to finish. Everything has been provided under the 2024 appropriation bill.
Speaker Abbas urged constituents to intimate federal lawmakers of their infrastructural needs and projects, which they expect to be captured in the 2025 budget to be presented by President Bola Tinubu on Tuesday. Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
President Bola Tinubu has congratulated Musikilu Mojid, Editor-in-Chief of Premium Times, and other newly elected leaders of the Nigerian chapter of the International Press Institute, IPI. Members re-elected Mojid as President of the IPI Nigeria, alongside Media Trust's Ahmed Shekurao, Secretary, and Fidelis Mba of Al Jazeera Television, Deputy President. Members also elected Rafatu Salami of Voice of Nigeria Treasurer, Yomi Adeboye of Herald Newspaper Assistant Secretary, and Toby Soni of Arise News Legal Advisor. The President urged the new chapter leadership to work with the administration to expand access to information and reinforce the country's democratic ethos. President Tinubu said the new IPR leadership has a prominent role in ensuring responsible journalism that advances national interests as enshrined in the Constitution. The National Council on Information and National Orientation, at its 48th session in Kaduna, adopted proposals from the National Orientation Agency (NOA) seeking partnership with the state for the implementation of 2 of the institutionalization policies of the national identity projects. The two memoranda submitted by NOA include that seeking the restoration of dignity and standardization of national symbols and implementation of the provision of the National Values Charter at the sub-national levels of government. Meanwhile, the Federal Executive Council had earlier approved the proposal to revive Nigeria's value system as part of the National Identity Project. Specifically, the adopted memo seeks to implement the approved strategies across all levels of government, education and media, fostering a unified national identity and value system. With the adoption, states are to work with the NOA to establish Citizens' Values Brigade in all schools in Nigeria, develop a curriculum for citizenship studies as a compulsory subject from primary to tertiary levels, integrate the National Value Charter into retreats for government officials, and support local cartoons creators to promote Nigerian values and heroes. Federal government has achieved a major milestone in its campaign against terrorism, including Boko Haram insurgency, IPOB insurrection, and banditry, as over 200 terrorists were prosecuted and convicted at the just concluded Phase 6 terrorism trials held at the Kenji detention facility, where 237 cases were entertained. A statement from the Department of Strategic Communications National Counterterrorism Center in the Office of the National Security Advisor says the convicted individuals received various sentences ranging from the death penalty to life imprisonment and terms of 20 to 70 years, reflecting the severity of their crimes. Among those sentenced to death were those convicted of attacks on women, children, and religious sites in Borno State. Also, terrorism financiers were sentenced to life imprisonment, underscoring the federal government's resolve to dismantle terrorist networks. The trials, presided over by 5 federal high court judges, were conducted in strict compliance with international standards of justice, marking a critical step in restoring peace and stability in affected regions across the country. 125 convictions were recorded during an earlier terrorism trial that took place in July this year. And now let's take a look at the weather outlook for Nigeria and some other countries. And that's the news. Thank you for watching. I am Minna Daniels.